Welcome to What's Your Skroove, where we tell stories, share experiences, and get inside the minds of artists, athletes, creators, and musicians. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 32 of What's Your Skroove. Today's guest, Morgan Scheving, model, blogger, artist. She does a little bit of everything, and she was the original Skroove Muse, the first Skroove Muse, right? Wasn't she?
Well, I think we shot her first, but we put Lexi's out.
She was the first photo shoot because Lexi, OG model, said she had to be the first technical Skroove Muse. But we're glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Fun fact about Morgan, she's never listened to a podcast or been on a podcast, and she's on a podcast before she's listened to one. I don't know if that's ever happened in like the history of ever. So like we might be breaking a world record today.
I mean, it's something different. Cool. Thanks for having me.
No
Absolutely.
problem.
Thank you for coming out.
Sponsor Natural Light. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be so cool to be sponsored by like the shittiest beer of all time.
Like Barstool.
Yeah,
Pretty
100%.
sure it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, before we got on, we're talking about if this house is haunted because it's like 100 years old. It's super old. It might even be older than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really old house. Do you believe in ghosts? Paranormal?
I
Like
don't know if I believe in like ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of like I lived in the basement too at one point when I did my art, and weird shit kind of happened. So I kind of believe in some sort of like spirit or soul or energy kind of. But I don't know if that's a ghost.
Well, I got okay, your first podcast ever that you're going to listen to, I'm going to send you the link. This is your homework. It is with Joe Rogan and Steven Tyler. And they talk about kind of like how you just described it. Because like Steven Tyler, lead singer of Aerosmith, for those who aren't familiar, and if you don't know that, leave. He was talking about how they go in these old recording studios where, you know, some of the greats would record and goes, there's just this energy about it. Like you feel like, you know, your hair stand up and it's just something you can't explain. And they kind of go into this weird, like talk about paranormal, not so much in like a ghost aspect, but kind of like what you're talking about, like these energies that, you know, you can kind of feel this presence. So yeah, interesting.
I believe in ghosts, if you're wondering.
We got some weird ghost stories.
We do, but I think that stuff's real, but I don't think this is haunted.
I don't think
because
it's
I live in
haunted
the
either.
basement, and it's not really a
Knock on
bedroom.
wood.
It's knock on wood.
Yeah.
It's well, you're lucky you knocked on one of the two walls that are wood, because two of
Dude,
them
our cement. Yeah,
in my
was
secret layer.
Was that during Eric's recording when he was like, "This is your bedroom too," or was that off camera?
think it
A
was
lot
off
of people don't know this half that you see in frame of the podcast studio. The other half is Kenny's bedroom / our basement. So,
But I've woken up in the middle of the night, and I'm not freaked out. I've like woken
He
up in
welcomes
houses.
them. He welcomes them.
yes, yeah, it's at peace. If you're afraid of them, they'll take advantage.
Yeah,
of
that's
you.
what I try to think.
maybe-
Like, no harm.
Yeah, exactly. Like hang a cross up for extra measure.
Yeah, a dream catcher.
Dreamcatcher. I don't think that works on ghosts.
Maybe. So yeah, I don't think it's haunted. But you know, like you're talking about like the energy thing, and Steven Tyler talking about great artists being in recording studios.
Yeah.
I just feel very lucky for the next person that gets to live in this bedroom with me. You know, being inhabiting it for 15 months.
You're creating the energy. You're
Yeah,
creating
yeah,
the
because I
cycle.
lived above you and put all those great hours in.
No. Their creativity, their inspiration will just seep. My inspiration will just seep through the walls onto them while they're sleeping.
Oh, wow. That sounds disgusting and something I want nothing a part of. So, fun fact, if you're listening to the audio, make sure you tune in the video because our roommate David last night shaved just a mustache. Never in my life I had just a mustache, but I committed to working on it. Starting today, took off any beard I had left, and we had to convince our other roommate, Zach. So we're going to have house mustaches soon. I might have to just ferment this, though, because it's very Ricky Ricardo, pencil thin.
We have a wedding this weekend, and
Yeah.
I think Tyler needs to rock that too.
I agree. So that, and I need a fancy hat. Hopefully Joe's not listening to this because that's supposed to be a surprise. We have a wedding we have to go to. We want to go get fitted for hats at Henry the Hatter. Former
Well, I already have
podcast
a
guest.
fancy hat. But yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so let's get into Morgan.
Yeah.
Morgan, like we said, we used to do this thing. We did it like 6 times. Our
Mine
muses.
did more than that.
Maybe 7, I don't know. But we did like themed photo shoots with like different models. And you're the first girl that we shot. We shot at Comet Burger in Royal Oak.
That was an awesome shoot.
That was fun. Yeah,
It
we got
was fun.
Milkshake.
Free food.
Yeah,
free food. Yeah.
Comet Burger, that is some good drunk food.
Oh.
I've never had it until then.
Oh,
really?
You got to go
First
in there
time for
drunk.
everything with you guys.
have to
No
go.
shit.
So like when you go in there and you're like, you know, just it's 2 a.m. because they're open like past the bars. You go in there, you're like, give me 12 sliders, and they're just greasier than hell. And then when you wake up in the morning, hopefully you have a few left in the fridge for, you know, redemption food. But yeah.
So that was the first time we hung out with you, and then we've been following your art, just like through social media, and we just reached out to you yesterday, be like, hey, we should have Morgan on the podcast.
Very
And you're
split
like, I was like, yeah, does like Tuesday or Wednesday or like a couple weeks work? And like, I'm free tomorrow. So like we do that together, sweet.
Yeah,
like, very
pretty fast.
So thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah. So you have an interesting background. I was doing my research on you because you graduated from CMU, right? And you have a very unique degree. What's that in?
So I'm a double major in fashion merchandising and then broadcasting in the cinematic arts.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Well, first off, that second major, what was it? Broadcasting in the cinematic arts? That sounds super cool. Like SVSU, that's where I went to college. Never had anything cool like that. But how did that maybe lead to, or like your influence from those degrees lead to like where you are now? Because most of the people you have on the podcast are very one way or the other about college, and I'm just curious your opinion on how that influenced your artistic lifestyle.
Well, with college, I didn't really want to go. It was kind of like forced, like my parents.
Yeah.
I've always been into fashion, and then the broadcasting, my parents wanted me to do like news or like e-news is kind of what I wanted to do. So talk about fashion.
What is that? What's e-news?
So like, yeah, like red carpet, like events, stuff like that.
Oh, you're talking about like the
e-news, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I started doing blogging because for one of my courses, we had to have demonstrations of videos and stuff like that. So I just did a fashion blog. And then after that, I started doing it for fun and basically kind of took from all my influence in my art is kind of like fashion, music oriented, like influence. So it still plays like a heavy role with each other.
Okay, cool. So your blog... your website is Not Your Average Queen, correct? And your Instagram handle. Where did that spawn from? Where's that?
My blog turned into that because I wanted a blog name, and I was just like thinking, and I was like, what can I have that's like different and describes me? And then I was like, Not Your Average Queen, because I'm kind of different, and I don't want to be like the rest, and I am still like a little princess.
Okay.
I guess
it's
I'll
a good
take that.
title. I think it's catchy and it's easy to remember, and you have the domain for it. Like, that's something if people want to search it, they could find very easily just because it's unique and it's not like dot, you know what I mean? Like all these like weird, and then, so yeah, check out her blog, and her Instagram's Not Your Average Queen _
Yep.
correct? Okay. So what's that blogging process look like for you? Like, what is the writing process for you?
Okay, so basically what I used to do was I made it on WordPress, and I just take photos of outfits or had people take photos of me, and I would just kind of write like what to wear or how to wear it, maybe how to get it like cheaper without having to spend a lot of money, or just kind of like the right outfit maybe for like a festival, kind of how to throw things together, just because I was thinking of, I like when I go look at stuff, I like seeing people like what to wear, and I think it's like I don't have to write a lot. It's good content because if you write something really long, I feel like you just lose your mind and your memory span. For me, I get bored. So I wanted to be kind of short and sweet, something they can read and be like, oh, I like this. I have something similar. I can throw that with that.
So you made a product for yourself, something that you would want to see like when you're shopping or looking for inspiration for an outfit for an event, and then you delivered that for others, basically. Interesting.
Now, were you going to go into broadcasting? Did you go into broadcasting after you graduated, or what?
So I have not done anything really broadcast related, more social media. I'm really into like the back end side if I'm not in front of the camera. So. Okay.
And then you started creating art in, I think, 2017?
Yep.
Is that right?
Correct.
Why and how did that come about?
I've always like created things like jewelry I make clothes, and then one day I was just really bored and I went to Michael's, picked up some paint, and then started painting, and this guy at the time who liked me was like, oh, this is so cool. So he started giving me his old skateboard decks to paint on, and then people started buying it, and I was like, wait, what? And so I just kept going with it.
That's sick. I saw you did like a snowboard, snowboard. That was really cool.
Thanks.
And what is your style? It's like graffiti?
Yep, I do acrylic and spray paint, so it's really like grungy, graffiti, angst.
And then who is your inspiration? Where did you get that from? Because you're self-taught, right?
Right. Honestly, it was just because I had the materials around, and it was more of like emotions when I paint. I kind of did it for fun, like journaling, not having to think of stuff. But I get reference to, I'm going to butcher the name, Besquat.
Okay.
I like his stuff a lot, so kind of look towards him.
Okay. Well, is he like American or?
He
Does not sound American.
I don't know. He died. I thought he was still alive.
Really?
Oh, really?
But I did the research. He did die a while ago.
Like,
Well,
I can't wait to
maybe
meet him.
if we had Eric Spitz on here, our last guest was big into what was that? Was the term he used? Not reincarnation.
Oh, regressive past lives.
Something like maybe you're like the next version of him. I don't really understand that whole thing. He could explain it to you, but maybe you're like 2.0 version of what's his name?
I could be Basquiat because he
Basquiat, I
was
don't-
founded by Andy Warhol, and he is like a
Really?
fashion icon. Like I think his stuff
Interesting.
is more like that.
So like he kind of has the same style. Did he use like spray paint and acrylics
I think
or what?
he just is. I want to say acrylic, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
What's the difference?
Just the type of paint, like
Okay.
spray paint can, and then acrylic.
This
I don't
paint-
know.
you-
Is,
I
is it
just-
like a used paintbrush
I
for
use
acrylic?
Yeah, I use my hands and a paintbrush, and I use whatever I can find. Like one time I had nothing to use, so I used like a makeup brush.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
really?
cool. It's very interesting. So you were talking a little while ago. We're gonna bounce around a little bit. Like you said, oh yeah, I also lived in a basement at one point, and I was reading your blog, and like, so what has been your journey like this far in life? Let's go like post college till now. Well, first off, how old are you?
25.
Okay, so what year did you graduate?
16.
Okay, so what did the last few years look like from graduation till now, and how'd you get here and that journey?
So I moved back to my parents' house and I just wanted to get out. So I took like a quick job. Didn't realize it was like a pyramid scheme job. I lived in an unfinished basement because I have so many clothes and too much stuff. And I was like, oh, like I won't be scared down there. Like it works. I don't want to have to cram everything in
Is
a
this
little
at
room.
your parents' house or is this a
No, this was in Royal Oak when I
Okay.
moved out. And at the time I was like, oh, it'll be fine. No, it was so scary. There were bugs. Like my friends were like, I thought you were the biggest hippie. Like I did not know this was you. I was like, yeah, I don't know how I lived down there for so long because it was bad. It was pretty bad. But now it's my studio. But yeah, I just kind of started making stuff. And then, like I said, I picked up paint and I had people reach out for me to do customs and they were paying me a lot. So I kind of was like, I'll post it on social media, and that's how I got all my stuff, was just through Instagram. So then I just actually this year, a couple months ago, created a website. Well, I took my blog and made it more my art.
Okay.
And then I created an Instagram for my art too. So if someone just wants to look at what I've done, they can go there.
Why don't you plug that Instagram real quick too, so people can find your art page? What is that?
Morgan Scheving Art.
Okay, easy.
And we'll tag all that
Yeah,
stuff.
and then I want to get a little bit deeper into this journey from post college to where you're at now, because for me, the things that I'm frequently asked the most and that I see coming up around my peers and friends and family is they're like, I'm about to graduate college and I want to do X, but I either A, don't think it's realistic or don't know how to get there, or my major doesn't translate. And this is probably the most reoccurring theme that I run into among people I know and don't know who reach out to me. And it's something that I think it's a very important conversation because it has the ability to really transform like where you go with your life. So your major, you're doing art, which isn't directly related to your major.
Right.
So like, how did, like you said, you got this first job, it was a pyramid scheme. What were some of the steps you take to make a living and pursue this new passion? Because it's really strange too that you encountered this art really late in your, you weren't doing this all the
Right.
way growing up. So talk about that. Give some, lend some advice to people, and maybe your story can help them a little bit.
Well, I remember I had to take an art class. So I took an art history class in college. And I remember the teacher being like, what is art? And so we would always say if this was art or if it wasn't. And I've never thought of myself as like an artist. I was like the biggest critic of stuff. I'm like, that's just a cup. That's not art. And like people hated me in the class. They're like, this girl's not an artist. Get her out. But I don't know. So since kind of the struggle was more of it, having my parents and stuff, like I've been always a creative, and
Sure.
I know what I want to do is not really realistic in Michigan. And it's been hard to have that much money to move out of state, or it's kind of like scary being the youngest of my family to move off and not know what to do because I don't want to not succeed. So I kind of just started thinking like, I'm just going to brand myself. So I do like a lot of my art, I will post like model in front of it, and me and my girlfriend will use my iPhone, which is all broken. There's like no camera screen, it won't focus, it like does a little in and out. And I'll post stuff and people like will like it from that or want to buy it, because a lot of my buyers typically are like single bachelors, because it's like they have a big white wall that they want something crazy on. But I guess going from there, I kind of just kept pushing it. And I think if you think your stuff is cool and just act like it, people also are going to agree, or you're going to give them a reason to like change their mind and make them think that, or what is she doing that she thinks is so cool. It's just going to get like a spark of interest. But yeah, that's kind of how I went about it.
Well, I want to touch on a few things that you said in that. So, like, one, you said what you really want to do isn't realistic for or ideal in Michigan. So, what is that
At the time, it was doing like something for E-News or going out and doing broadcasts. But now in my life, I want to do something more of like a creative art director. So work with like brands like Louis Vuitton, Supreme, Gucci, and kind of do their directing for photo shoots, or collabing and doing like, have you seen artists like they'll paint on like their bags and it's like, so stuff like that. And that's kind of how I came up with, me and my friend do the photo shoots. We do it weird, so it's going to catch your eye. I try to do it more high fashion and not super like, I'm Instagram modeling. It's more of like an art. And it also helps me get creative. So doing that stuff, it like will make it fun for me to paint. So I'm like not like thinking of it as painting. It's kind of like my little zone.
Is that accepted like within the community of these designer brands, like to paint on these, to do I know it's cool within a community, and like I see that and I'm like, that's super like edgy, and I think it's cool to see that. Do the brands like that?
So I think brands will do collabs like with other big brands. Like I know this artist I follow on Instagram, I can't think of his name, but he does stuff in like Nordstrom's, and he'll paint on their clothes and they'll buy it from him because it's like a collab with them.
Very cool.
That's sweet. Yeah, there's some dude that just did. He got really big. It was like Kanye's guy, and he did a collab with like Louis Vuitton.
Oh, really?
And he kind of did that, and I saw Kanye just kind of promoting him.
I think those are so
and he
cool.
was super stoked for him because I think
too.
he's been just a designer all his life, and Kanye linked up with them and kind of helped get his name out there.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Now, what is the creative process for you? Like, do you like pull something from magazines, Instagram, TV, just everyday life, and do you like see something like that's sweet? Do you sit down and have ideas, or do you just like kind of wait for inspiration to hit?
It goes in like waves. So I like looking at Instagram and seeing photos of like more of like content where people will post like cool, like edgier vintage stuff, or I'll read poetry, I read books. And a lot of it is like I'll listen to music and just like kind of like dance before I paint and listen to the lyrics, and then I kind of go. Sometimes I draw it out and have an idea. So if I do a custom, I like to ask like what they're looking for, colors, maybe if they have an idea, and then I kind of give them a quick idea what I'm thinking on top of my head, and they'll be like, yeah, just run with it. So then I kind of just run with it.
You said you like poetry and books. What are some of your favorite reads?
So I like the R.H. Sen poetry books a lot. Those help me through a little bit. I've read, I can't think of names, like Drake. He's a poet.
The rapper?
No, not the rapper. Not that I know of. It's like something Drake.
Rapping's not poetry. We've offended people.
No, that is. That's why I listen to music too.
I'm totally
Is
joking.
that Lexi said that?
Yeah, the same guy. Yeah, another one of our Skroove models we had on said the same thing. That's super
She liked
interesting.
that guy.
Yeah,
Our sign.
I'd never heard of him.
Yeah.
It's cool, but we don't read a lot of poetry, so
No, I just write poetry.
yeah.
No, I'm a bit of an artist myself. I have to plug my art.
No,
I made that tapestry over there.
I hate that. I mean,
like
it's
it.
great.
I did that.
It's great. You did great.
I want to get a yin and yang tattoo.
The whole
Yeah, I think
the
that'd
whole
be
house / basement smelled like spray paint for about 2 hours.
Yeah, I used to spray paint in my basement. I had no
Dangerous.
idea that I could blow up our house because their
yeah,
furnace was
for
in the
sure.
basement.
Oh,
And then I
God.
got told that, and I just like the fumes and everything would get to my head. Now I finally do it like in my driveway.
That's hilarious.
Had no idea.
Just down there smoking a cigarette
Yeah.
next to your furnace.
Oh
Spray
my
paint
God.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, you were talking about, like the fear of not being successful, youngest in your family, that, along those lines. What does success look like for you?
I guess just like having a name for myself, making my family happy. I guess from like where I come from, art, creative, it wasn't really something that was around. Or like having my family, they try to be supportive. Now they go to like my art shows, but if I need to talk to someone about like what to do, or if I'm doing the right stuff in the right direction, it's kind of all on me. So I make my own connections. I Google a lot. I just try to push myself out there as much as I can and network, because it's all really who you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might argue that dependence and like lack of that, it forces you to really dive in, which is can be really healthy. If you don't have any of that like immediate within grasp, like resources, then you really have to dive in head first, and maybe that's why you're where you're at in such a short time period, because really it develops pretty quickly from what it sounds like, at least.
Yeah, from what I've like been told, I guess like I skipped a lot of like the art, like the struggling art part, and because I've sold a lot and I've been in shows, and it's just kind of doing it. You can't really think of being like, oh, what does this person think of me? Like if they care and you're fun, they're gonna support you no matter how weird your shit is, and it's probably gonna be even better because it's that weird.
And now, like, we're jumping all over the place. So you said you went and just like bought some acrylics and like canvas, and this guy was like, "Oh, that's sweet," and then you posted on Instagram, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool," and you're like, "I like this, and I kind of have something here," or what?
So I would just buy stuff. I'd paint it for fun, and then I would post pictures of it, and people would be interested. So I'd keep buying more stuff when I had money.
Like they wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
Is that what they're
But
like, "Oh, how much for this piece?"
Yeah.
Was that hard for you to value? Because I mean, it's super abstract to value.
Very ambiguous, yeah.
It was hard. I never really knew the price. From being in my fashion classes, like I've always wanted to be like a higher brand, something more equivalent than like a lower brand. So I've always priced higher, just because if you price low, it's just going to be you're affiliated with that. So higher is like my reason. But then I've met people along the way that have helped me like how to price it for gallery pricing, and that's kind of how I started too with my bigger ones.
Is everything one of one?
Everything is one of one. I also do like I've done like tie-dyed hoodies. I'm doing one for someone as well tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. So people can message you and have custom pieces, right? Do you enjoy doing those more than like your own creative stuff, or?
Depends. I kind of like it a little bit more because it gives me a direction to go. When I just kind of am freeballing and go all out with whatever I do, it's kind of all in my head, and I freehand everything. So I don't have an idea. I just kind of go. So having an idea helps kind of figure out, okay, this is what they're going to want. But then it's stressful because it's like, wow, what if they don't like this? Like, is this too much? Because I have like a lot in my pieces, and some people like it and some people don't. So it really depends on their style.
Has that happened yet?
I've had people be like, I want like a little bit less, but I still made it enough to where I pleasingly liked it, and then it was going to work for them.
That's sweet. That's very cool. I mean, yeah, that could be a very big challenge. Like you have it's your art, obviously, but then you're trying to kind of please whoever wants this.
It's like
and trying to
nerve-wracking.
balance this, like, I got to make it my own, but I also kind of have to make them happy too, you know?
But it's cool. A lot of the customs, they've been really cool about it. They are just like, I like your stuff. I spit them the idea, and they're like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I just do it.
Interesting.
That's very cool.
So what does a day look like for Morgan Scheving, start to finish? What's a typical day?
Depending. Typically, if I work a 9 to 5, and then I'll come home and I'll paint till probably I used to, for a minute, I was painting till 4 or 5 a.m.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then, because I get more creative at night, and especially throughout the day, if I work out, I want to eat, that kind of stuff takes up so much time. So I'm like, I still want to make time to paint. But as of right now, I am unemployed. So my typical day is finding a job.
I think you're self-employed.
Yeah, I try to be self-employed. And then just painting and being creative. I never want art to be forced or something that's like a burden for me. So I always try to make it fun, like with ideas and colors. That's why when I paint, if I don't have like an idea at that moment, or I start to get myself, like I can tell by my painting, if I'm like getting annoyed, I'll stop and then like go to bed, do it the next day.
Right. So what were you doing before you recently stopped working?
I was doing social media for financial advisory for a CEO, and that was pretty cool. It was nice, but it's nice to use both sides of like your creative brain and then, your non-creative side.
Yeah.
But I want to use my creative full time, so everything happens for a reason.
I can agree with that. I think it's interesting, like what you're saying about staying up till 4 or 5 a.m. So I've like looked into that, and a lot of people they call it like the poet, like 4 a.m. is like the poetic hour, because it's that balance of, well, most people are not up yet for work, and most people who stay up late are in bed by that point. So it's this weird like limbo period in the day where like there's just a certain like peacefulness like about like just it's the air is calm, and like you can be like really creative, and I find that to be like a common theme among very successful creators have often like talked about that. So do you ever like set out, be like, okay, I'm just gonna stay up until my mind gets in a weird spot and make something?
No, it was more of like I hated living in that basement. Like my bed was down there and stuff. Like I didn't like want to sleep. Like honestly.
Seriously?
So I would like paint, and then like paint has to dry. So then I'd be like, okay, I'll just let it dry, and I would want to finish stuff. So that's kind of the reason I was up so late, or I'd get really into it and, wouldn't want to stop. So sometimes I'd have to like force myself to be like, go to bed. You have to be up at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I look crazy the next day.
Paint everywhere. How many pieces like do you typically have on you? Do you just keep painting, or do you like, I have 20 pieces now, like let me try and sell these? Or
So it depends. There's some pieces I like and probably won't like retouch, but there's pieces like I'm not so fond of that like haven't sold, and I've caught myself going over it with a new idea.
Okay.
So a lot of it's more of, if I don't go out and buy supplies or have money to, I just want to paint, and I'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna go over this.
How many pieces have you kept for yourself?
Well, I haven't like have really one piece for me yet. I do have like maybe 30 to 20 pieces right now, but I have 2 pieces in my room, but they're not paint at all. It was more like mixed media, so like magazines on old record players, like I have like a little piece like that. I made it into a wall art.
Oh, that's sweet.
But surprisingly, I don't have like a piece of my art hanging in my house at all.
Really?
That's like the most ironic thing I've ever heard. That'd be like us not wearing a shirt and owning a
I
band.
know. I don't know where to put it, and I have roommates. Like all my stuff is like in my basement, hanging down, so it looks really cool when you're down there. It's kind of like my own little like studio for like photo shoots and creativeness. Like I like the energy when I'm down there of like seeing it too.
Even though it's haunted.
There's some sort of energy down there. I think, I don't know if it's haunted, but whoever it is, they're the ones that are pushing me with the art.
Picasso.
Right?
So on your blog, you said that you find value in like the little things. Or like daily, like I don't know quite how you phrased it. Like you like finding like a penny heads up, like things like that. Do you have like daily like rituals or routines or things that you do like to keep a healthy head space and stay inspired?
Yeah. I think that like my art, a lot of it was finding myself and finding like what I want and just being happy with me as a person, and that like has like, it can be really like dark if you go the wrong route about it. So I try to like to just be happy. Like life sucks sometimes, so just being a nice person, helping others, anything like that, and like just like trying to be positive as much as I can be, that really helps me like throughout my days.
Do you do any form of meditation, anything for mental health?
Kind of. So I work out, and when I run, I kind of will meditate, and then when I paint, I also will try to like get in that zone as much as I can to meditate and not think about anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have your notebook. Do you journal? Do you put your thoughts down on paper, or is that more or less? I mean, what is that tool
So
for
yeah,
you?
I used to not, but then I started to. It was more of like, I write poems in here. A lot of it was when I first started working a 9 to 5. It has my schedule on here. So like,
beautiful.
And then after that, it goes into more of like things I think of, ideas, poems, little sketches, like weird stuff that like if I need to take a second away from painting, like this one just has paint on it. Like
I like
all
how
of
it
it
starts super corporate.
Yeah, exactly.
Corporate.
It's like the journey.
Progressively.
That is like the metaphor of like the downfall from the corporate society to the starving
Morgan
artist
journal.
to the
I know, and I have so many from my corporate jobs that they all are my art journals. Like, so funny.
That's gonna be like a piece in like,
That
your
is gonna be a
studio
piece.
one.
How
day.
much?
When you make it, it's
That's
gonna
what I
be
was
like
thinking, 'cause it's like-
corporate to creative.
Yeah, and like there's like some dark poems, some non-dark.
How come there's no poetry on the internet from you, or that I've seen?
Well, I do a lot of like my stuff in my pieces. I'll write my own poems in them, like so it's like you can't see it unless you're really looking. Or I'll do like song lyrics that I'm like really fond of hearing.
Really? What are you listening to right now? What's your jam? What's that song that you've listened to too many times and it hasn't gotten annoying yet?
Well, I just listened to Travis Scott's Stargazing like 3 times before I came here, so
Getting in the zone.
that was in my zone.
Okay. Do you listen to music when you run?
Yep.
Do you ever listen to the same song on repeat?
I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, sometimes different songs will make me run faster, I guess. So it depends,
Doing
but I try
banjos.
not to. I listen to all music, though, besides, I don't really like country, but I like rock, EDM, rap, grunge, like everything.
That's cool. Because this is something we talked about a little bit last podcast, and it's a trick I learned out of a Tim Ferriss book. And it's because like I sometimes have a hard time setting like aside time to sit down and like meditate. But if I go for a run and listen to the same song on like repeat, some Olympic runner did this over and over and over again. It kind of helps you get into that zone you were talking about of like zoning out.
I do that in my art now that you say that.
Really? Yeah, and
Sometimes.
that's a form of like meditation for me. Like that's the like how I like zone out. It was like the same thing over and over again, and I pick the tempo relative to the speed I want to run.
Yeah.
So like like the beats per minute on the
And
song.
I think it helps, like, if you're thinking of something, for you not to get lost in that, to keep it, like, going, having the same song just because it's familiar.
Yeah. So you did that kind of without realizing in your
Yep.
art, right? Yeah. So do you pick a song based off the tone on the art that you want?
Honestly, I just put my headphones on, and whatever I'm, like, vibing to, I'll go with.
That's cool.
Now, how many art shows have you done?
I've been in 3. I'm going to be in 4, my 4th one this month.
And then what was that experience like? Oh, like what was your first one like? Did you have any expectations? Like what were you expecting?
So a lot of them have been at bars, and I had no idea really what to expect. It was kind of nerve-wracking, but it was really cool because I ended up getting like the biggest space, like the best space too for all my art. You could see it from when you're walking down the street, and then you would come in. I don't know how I ended up getting that spot, but it was cool. It was definitely an experience. I got to like talk to people, and it was cool for them to see that I do it. A lot of people don't realize that it's me behind the art because it's very like a lot, and I guess I don't really seem like that. But no, it was really cool.
Good.
How did that come about? Did you reach out to these people? You see these shows?
I got reached out to by some of my friends. Like, they were going to throw an art show, and they're like, oh, she'd be perfect for this. So a lot of my friends have reached out for me for them. And usually at my 9-to-5 jobs, I will Google like different things like art shows or, artists, galleries, or online platforms. And I honestly just email them, and I send them my work. I kind of give them a little brief thing like self-taught. I think this is got like this much experience. Yeah. A lot of people are saying they like my stuff. You should check it out. And I'll give them my Instagram handle because I didn't have a website yet. And a lot of them will like reach back out to me and be like, we're interested.
Well, I think too, you bring a unique dynamic to a traditional or non-traditional like artist because you do model, you do blog, and like you do your form of art. So like you're multifaceted in that aspect, and you have a strong following that seems to be very interactive. So when they check out your page, they probably like, if it's you or somebody who's just making art, you bring a lot more to the table, which is, I think, super unique that, you find a way to focus on all these 3 things. But the real passion's the art.
Yeah, I mean, art or modeling has always been a passion for me. It's such a competitive industry. And with that, like, I am signed with an agency. I've done like runway shows and print and stuff like that, but it's just kind of a harder, I feel like you have to be in a different town as well. So throwing them both together, I get a better reaction, and I like it better. It's more my creative self doing it. But I kind of figured just doing all the arts that I can do, I find it fun, and it's crazy. I just heard a thing the other day. It was like, usually if you're an artist in one form, you're good in other forms. And I never thought of myself as an artist for like till this year. And I used to like make videos. I love editing, like all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's an art. Like I can do all of it.
Have you thought about starting a vlog?
I have a YouTube channel. It's like me baking cakes and weird stuff and eating the entire time. But I like editing, so I would like cut music to
You
it.
can edit all. We have plenty
They're
of stuff
so
for you to
weird and
edit.
funny,
I'm gonna
though.
send you a lot of footage.
They're so weird, but
Oh, we're gonna check that out.
Yeah,
I've done a
We're gonna
couple.
find that.
We
and
might
surface
feature
it.
that
Yeah,
on
that's
our
gonna be on the
channel.
page for sure. So no, but a vlog. Have you thought about starting a vlog?
no, I don't really know what to do.
Well, you live a
Speak
very
about your
interesting life. Like literally, film your process. I would like to see the process.
I started
of-
filming myself painting, and I'm gonna like edit those into videos and stuff
You
for people
should.
to look at.
I think that'd be very interesting. I think that could be inspirational to other people or younger people looking like, oh, where do I start? And they say, oh, here's how I do it. And no one's ever gonna be able to replicate what you do, like we were talking about earlier. You know what I mean? It's just you're either kind of niche and an anomaly, or you're piggybacking. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
there's two
right.
kinds of artists, right? So I think that'd be very interesting. And what's the potential downside? It takes some time.
Yeah.
But what's the upside? It could blow up.
Think you're onto something.
Hey, I'll hold you. We'll hold you accountable. I'm gonna bug you about it. So
It's just gonna be Morgan's vlog of her baking stuff.
yeah, we can fire that back up. Actually, you could teach us how to bake because neither of us really know how to bake. So I can cook, but I can't bake. So you can come over. This is what we'll do, and we'll set up some cameras, and you're gonna teach us how to like bake a cake. I don't even think have you baked a cake?
I made brownies once in college.
Once.
And-
What kind of brownies?
No, you made them for me. You made them for my
Just
surprise-
regular brownies.
My surprise birthday. Was that? Didn't you make me a cake for that? And you guys put black and milds in because you didn't have candles.
Yeah, we
So
did do
it was
that.
my birthday. I think it was.
I think when I
Yeah.
made yours that time, I made that right, but the first time I made brownies was
I
my
was
freshman year.
you were home. Our parents were away for something, and you're like, dude, let's make brownies. And you forgot like
I forgot
flour
the
or
eggs.
eggs.
No, I forgot the eggs.
I remember, and it was the worst. But my birthday in college, remember you made that cake, and then you're like, oh, we don't have candles. And Joe Manchik, I think,
kind of
ran to
remember that.
7-Eleven and got black and mild and stuck them in the
Was
cake.
it a brownie cake?
It was a brownie cake.
Yeah,
Yeah, you threw a surprise party on that. Wow,
I do remember that.
That is great.
I got home from like a 7 to 10 or a 6 to 10, like the worst class in college.
He kept
4-hour
asking me
block.
like, "Hey, what are we gonna do for
I'm
my
like, dude, let's go.
birthday?"
Let's do something. He's like, I'm tired. And my brother like is never like, we always are like just like high energy. I'm like, you're tired. Like, dude, like it's my birthday. I want to go party. I want to do something. You're like, oh, it's a
Was
Wednesday.
this your first year at college?
I think so. You're like, oh, it's a Wednesday, dude. Chill. We'll do something this weekend. I'm like, this is not my brother, and I didn't have any suspicions. I'm like, this is so strange. And then next thing I know, like 4 people came over, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, what's up? Because people just would always like come in and out of our apartment. We were like the friends like on the show, just people like always in and out. And I didn't think anything of it. And then people was like, so like something about a party, and like, yeah, I don't know how I got.
And I
that
invited
random.
4 people over for your birthday.
No, like a ton of people showed up. It was a lot of fun. You had like a secret Facebook event. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That was a great surprise party.
That was a good time.
I'd say it was the best, but I don't want Mom to listen and forget that when I was 11, she threw me a surprise party too. So, Mom, that was a good party.
I'm not a very good cook. I don't like to cook. I don't like to take the time.
That's an understatement.
Usually,
That's
it's
an understatement.
what
You are not a very good cook. You aren't. Yesterday,
I made
my
dinner.
brother in college burnt.
Well, I was gonna
almost
tell
burnt
that. I was
down
gonna tell
the
that
thing.
story
Go
because
ahead.
at CMU.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I went and visited my buddies at CMU. I used to go up there all the time, like freshman, sophomore year, and we had some drinks. And I go back, and we go back to their dorm, and I'm like, dude, I'm so hungry. You guys have anything to eat? And like, I think they were passed out. I was somewhere else. I walked back, and like, oh, kind of was like, yeah, dude, there's some ramen right there. I was like, oh, sweet, yeah, I'll have some of that.
This is so
put it
true.
in the microwave and didn't put any water in it. And just like the noodles, and they like start smoking out of the microwave.
This is my brother. Like,
I
to
like,
this day.
oh,
What were you
shit.
thinking? That hard stuff is gonna just.
That's what I
I
said.
wasn't
much?
even thinking.
My
I was
brother-
inebriated. In my defense, I'm not that bad of a cook, but completely forgot to put water in there. And I like take out like, oh shit, and like my buddy was kind of like already in bed. I'm like, oh fuck, and I took it out and it was like big black hole in the middle of like the
Oh my
ramen from where
God.
it was burnt.
Yeah, no, I probably cook 95% of what we eat, and when Kenny's turn to cook, he goes out and buys pizza. Like that's his.
Little
so,
Caesar's hot and ready. It's the best.
yeah, so you need to teach us how to bake something because I don't think if I had to, I could. I mean, I'm sure I could follow the instruction, but we'll do one of your throwback
A
cooking
baking
shows.
video.
What's your
Yeah.
go-to thing that you bake? What's your favorite thing to bake?
Let's see.
Red
I just
velvet.
made banana bread the other day, which was pretty cool. It was for my first time, but usually birthday cake, just because I always have that on me. I don't know why.
Like in your purse.
I was just gonna say you pull out.
Wait!
You brought us a cake.
Thanks, Morgan.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, nice. Coffee
No, my
cake.
mom, like, growing up has, like, we had this, like, cupboard,
now.
which is, like, all baked goods, like, in the boxes. So, like, when I was bored or had, like, girls over when I was younger, I would just be like, let's make a cake and eat it.
Did you ever have an easy bake oven growing up?
I think I did.
We
Yeah.
did.
I had one of those.
Those are so good.
Well, we had one of those, yeah. And then, I mean, I don't think we ever let it cook all the way. We would just get too antsy. Like,
Those things, we
screw
should
this.
get that thing up here.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
make like easy bake oven stuff for our
That would be
guests.
hilarious. Yeah, oh, we
That would be great.
We made you a
cake.
You hear the timer go off,
over
you just
here,
pull
yeah.
it out. It's like a little thing.
It's a light bulb, right? Like, come on.
I'm pretty
like,
sure.
Like, that's, it can't be
No,
any-
it's
I
gotta
think
be, like,
the food
heated
that you get
coils
too
or
is like
something.
certain food for it. Like it's in packaged, like that astronaut food. I
Yeah,
swear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
no, it
add-
is.
You
It
could
is.
probably not even put it in the oven, and it would like just by itself like come to fruition. Or
I'm pretty sure we've eaten the batter before.
Oh,
I remember
100%
eating
eaten the
that.
batter.
It's so good.
Do you
So
think they
sweet.
still sell that?
I don't know.
I'd like to just order
Toys
some
R
and
Us.
just eat it.
We got to see if Easy Bake
Well,
is
Toys
still.
R Us is
and-
bankrupt.
Yeah, it's
or out of business. Or yeah.
I see that photo of like Jeffrey the Giraffe with like a suitcase.
Did you see that?
It was,
I did not.
It was on Instagram. He's like Jeffrey the Giraffe was just had a suitcase behind him. He's like had his head down,
look, all
and Toys R Us was empty.
Toys R Us put it
So
out,
sad.
right?
Yeah,
I think it was that- and then it was like that got retweeted, recycled a bunch of times, and then somebody had a Jeffrey the Giraffe Twitter account, and they're like, "Oh, where were all you?" And I
When we were struggling.
because everyone was like feeling nostalgic, like, "Oh, thanks for all the years of fun, Jeffrey and Toys R Us, and we missed you, and we love you." And he's like, somebody tweeted out like under this fake account, like, "Oh, where were you all when I needed you?" or something like that.
That's great.
Somebody commented if there was just a Nerf gun in that suitcase, I would laugh so hard. That's all he's
It's
taking.
horrible.
Oh my gosh.
That is horrible.
Yeah, we go on some weird tangents.
This is like our
Sorry,
life.
Morgan.
Like when we just, if we're in a car for like 2+ hours, we end up in the weirdest conversations ever.
Where were we?
I don't know.
Talking
We're
about
baking.
vlogging.
Yeah, we're gonna make your vlog. You're
baking.
gonna make your vlog.
Baking.
Yeah. Wait, so what, like red velvet, like confetti cake?
I've made red velvet. Yeah.
Oh, red
Have you been to
velvet's-
Holy Moly Donuts?
I have not.
We can just
Oh
end the
my
video right now and
gosh.
go there. You
It's right
order.
over there on
It's
8
right
Mile.
around the corner. You order. You choose your donut, like so the type, red velvet or like confetti or whatever, and then you choose like your glaze, and then you choose your topping, and it's only like
$2.75.
It's so cheap, I think, for what you're getting, and it's the best donut I've ever had. I had red velvet base with Nutella and crushed strawberry Pop-Tarts on top, and it was the best donut I've ever had.
That's so interesting.
You have to go there. You can get anything on it.
Holy Moly Donut Shop.
Yeah.
Gotta check it
Thank you
out.
for our sponsor, Holy Moly. No, I'm just
All right, bring him in, guys. Like a dozen donuts.
We get the giraffe.
oh,
Thanks, Jeffrey.
He's looking for a job.
Everybody wondered where Jeffrey went
Dude,
after Toys
we
R Us
should
went out of
employ
business. Just get a suit.
Yeah, turn him into a suit. Corporate guy.
No, his draft suit.
Oh, I thought you meant making like a corporate suit.
No.
Yeah, we're so corporate.
All right. Yeah. All right. So let's go to Discover Weekly.
Yeah, Discover Weekly.
So everyone that's listening to this because of Morgan that might not know what this is, we do like a weekly Discover Weekly where we bring something of value to us, like a book
Something
we've read.
watched, read, listened to, purchased that's had a positive influence or helped benefit our lives.
So yes, Morgan to bring something. We have something too. But go ahead, start us off. What do you have for Discover Weekly?
So it was a poetry book I read. It's The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. I don't know who the poet is though, which is horrible.
You're
but
great with names.
You can
Yeah.
search it, and all the typography is in red ink, which I thought was really cool, just because that's like a huge thing I think in tattoos is getting like the red ink. But it's basically kind of like a feminist book. I guess there's some good poems, some of them are trash, but yeah, it's good. Some good stuff in it.
Do you know what that cost? Like how much you paid for it?
Probably like $9 max.
There you go. $10. It can change your life. Have a good influence.
Is it about feminism and is it about like witches or what?
It's more about like it has like that like it talks about that stuff, but it's more of in like the idea of like, a lot of people say women are the feelers of the earth or like, they're witchcrafty. I think they're taking that spin from it and just kind of going with it. So for like people reading it for women to be like not so, I guess, to be more embraced by themselves and like their body or like their feelings and being emotional.
So how did like those like a book of poems work? Is it like a bunch of little individual poems or is it like a continuous story?
So it depends on like a lot of them are depending on the person that writes it, but they'll have like a flow, like a main topic kind of, or a couple different topics, but it'll be a poem on each page, and then just a different story on each one.
Really? Interesting.
In your poetry, I'm like super incompetent when it comes to this. So like in your poetry, do you follow like an actual like poetic style, like haikus and like things like that, or do you just like, this sounds cool,
I
this
just
is
write
meaningful
it.
to me? Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
Breaking
mean, I
all the
remember
rules.
doing that stuff in like English, but like I forgot, and I don't like, the biggest thing is if I have to like research or like make it a job, I'm not going to do it. So just doing it for fun and writing whatever I think and making it sound like a poem to me, like that will be better than for me to be like, oh, well, it was not in this synonym. Or, like I won't do it.
Yeah.
So I go medic school.
I know some really good limericks, so maybe I'll tell you sometime. I'm gonna save them for off camera, I think. But
And
I'm a bit of a poet myself.
What
when it
is a
comes to limericks.
haiku? 5 syllables, 7
It's
syllables.
5 by 7, I think. I don't know.
By
Why do we
5?
know that? What?
Trivia. That's
Trivia.
always stuck with
Yeah.
me.
No, but I do know limericks.
Well,
they're
indulge
just,
in those later.
We'll indulge in those later. I don't think that anybody would care to hear those.
All right, Tyler, your Discover Weekly.
My Discover Weekly is this whiteboard paint. It's $20. You can get it right on Amazon, or most Walmarts will even have it, or Home Depot. But Kenny and I both have them on our walls in our room. And I had it in my wall in college, so this is my second place that I've moved into. I'm like, I have to have this. And it's a small, it's like a quart? I mean, it's a very small thing of paint, and it did probably, what is that, like 4 by 3, 5 by 3, section on his wall, and probably a 4 by 4 square on my wall. So it's a decent amount of paint, and you just paint it right on, a couple coats, let it dry, and you can write on your wall just like a whiteboard. And that's yielded tremendous positive value for me over the last 6 years.
Tremendous games of Hangman and Tic-Tac-Toe.
Tic-tac-toe, and followed by Heads Up 7-Up. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I put my schedule on it. I write, and I just like, when I have thoughts, it's so accessible. It's right by my desk, and I see it every time I walk in my room. It's like literally, I open my door and it's right in front of me. And it's just always somewhere where I can just kind of like scatter my thoughts out, and things that I don't necessarily feel the need to write down in my notebook. But for the price, it's one of the most impactful purchases I've made probably in a long time.
Helps us keep track of our schedule.
Yeah, and
Very well.
I wrote it down just so I could tell people the brand we used. It is Rust. It's a Rust-Oleum brand, so just look up Rust-Oleum Dry Erase, and it's $20 on Amazon. And you can just paint right over it when you're done if you're renting. So no harm, no foul.
All right, and my Discover Weekly is my little book, which we all have one of these.
We do.
We're very prepared. It's a moleskin like planner, and I like the one with like out the lines, so I don't have to conform to the boundaries of society.
Maybe you can't write between the little lines.
I have like the lines.
Up and
I have a
put them
line,
down.
and then the dotted line, and then like the other solid line, like the elementary.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
paper.
Da-da-da-da-da.
So I can like write
Yeah.
my A's perfectly.
For your cursive practice.
Yeah. No, I just write so small, so I can fit so much more in that. But yeah, $15. And the thing I like about like the small one is it fits like in my back pocket. So if we go to like a coffee shop or somewhere, it's super easy to just like take with you.
Yeah.
So a fun fact about these two, my freshman year of college, we started this. So you were a junior?
Mm-hmm.
Junior, I was a freshman, and we've been doing this ever since. We have I don't know how many of these, a lot. So like we have our very first ones. I have all mine like locked in my filing cabinet, and it's from like, and we date every entry. So literally when we were bringing the brand to fruition, like we have our like first drafts of our logo in there and all the different names we had to choose from. So it's like every single like one of our thoughts are on paper from, for me, my freshman year of college until now. And I think that's super cool to look back on and reflect on, and have those thoughts like super accessible. So
That's cool.
yeah,
You got the
that's
creative
very-
process all right there.
It's
Yeah.
all right there. Yeah. Hopefully, like burn down. Like if we ever have a fire, like that would be like the worst thing to lose because like there's no digital copy. Like
Oh
that's
my
the only like
God.
tragic downfall.
Like Thomas Edison.
Well,
When
yeah.
all his inventions burned.
Well, so not everybody probably knows the story of that. So Thomas Edison, like when his lab burned down, he had just incredible amounts of dollars worth of patents and all these things in there, and everyone was freaking out, and they ran to his house and like, hey, you know, you got to see this, and he goes like, go wake up the whole neighborhood. And he wasn't upset. He's like, one, sit here and enjoy this fire, because there's all these chemicals like in his lab. He goes, you'll never see another fire like this ever because of like the colors of the flames. He goes, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And he also, you know, went on to elaborate, and I may be butchering this to some extent, but he wanted to elaborate how like now they have a clean slate, and they got rid of all the bad ideas are gone. And in the concept is, you know, we've all probably been editing videos or doing things where you don't save, it's been deleted, and the idea is, you know what, if I do it a second time, I'm going to be even better at it, and not to let these, it's all perspective. You can see, you know, imagine all your work burning down. That would be the worst thing ever. But if you look at it as an opportunity to start clean and move forward from what you've learned, it's better than bitching about it.
Perspective.
So, it's all perspective. How do we get there?
I have no idea.
No, I don't know. We were all over the place today. Quote of the week. It's another one of our segments. So we had Morgan bring a quote.
This is actually a poem.
Okay.
Oh, good.
By R.H. Sin.
You're going to make us cultured.
Yes. So it's kind of like, I like it because it makes you really think. It's kind of like a mind fucker.
Oh, good. That's great.
So we give people multiple chances hoping that they'll change. I don't know if it speaks less of them for taking advantage or less of us for refusing to accept who they are.
Very interesting.
And I like it. It's like a...
can you read it one more time?
Yeah. So we give people multiple chances hoping that they'll change. I don't know if it speaks less of them for taking advantage or less of us for refusing to accept who they are.
Huh.
What does that mean to you?
I am such like, I feel like I always give people chances, and I'm very, I mean, it's kind of hard to piss me off or make me not like you. So for me, that's like a weakness in aspects to other people, because you can take advantage. I do know my limits, but also it just speaks of like, to me, other people. Like if you're going to be rude, like, is it just you being an ass, or is it just I'm too much of a good person to let you keep doing it? I don't know. It just kind of makes me think.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, and expecting people to change. Like, who are we to really judge? Like, okay, that's how you are.
Yeah.
Like, why would you kind of, even though I wish you were different, why would you conform to my idea of you? You know, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that. I like that though. That was from
R.H. Sin.
It's so funny that Lexi said this.
Yeah, we'll have to look into him.
Yeah, that's.
Do you have his book? You said.
My friends had his book, but I follow him on Instagram, and I actually reached out to him. I was like, I love your stuff, and he got back to me. But he like will post his poems on his Instagram too.
I'm thinking of like, I don't know if it's that guy or Atticus. Is that his name? He's like a really popular, like Instagram.
I don't know.
Poet. No, Morgan with the names.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
All right. My quote is from a guy, a friend of the brand, that really kind of got us kickstarted into like just the network of suppliers, and gave us some great advice when we first started the brand. And like, it was one of the first phone calls we ever made.
Yeah, I remember. To
Chuck Erickson, a family friend's friend, like lives out in California. Dude's just like a hustler. And she was like, you need to talk to this guy because you guys want to start like your brand of clothes. She goes, he has some great connections. It's really fun, interesting, and got his number, and he was super helpful to us. Like, we probably talked for like an hour and a half. Just picked his brain.
Never met him. We were complete strangers.
Yeah,
and he gave us
the clothing industry,
advice.
and he hooked us up with like, you know, who we get our shirts through now, which is like a big supplier to like Volcom and O'Neill and all that stuff. And very grateful for him. But he gave us some of the best advice, which I wrote down like that day in that phone call, and have remembered it ever since. I mean, we both have. And he's like, you know, good luck in what you're doing and everything, because there's a lot of people out there doing clothing brands, and
everyone's got a brand of clothes.
And he just kind of goes, you know, and just be persistent and hustle. And he goes like, that's the key. And we both, when he said that, I was like, oh, that was super cool and super inspiring to hear from this guy. And it's just super simple. Yep. Just like be persistent and hustle. And that has been kind of something that I think we've had in the back of our minds, getting into stores and doing this for almost 5 years this November. And that's all it really takes, is just keep being persistent, hard work, don't get discouraged, and just keep working at it and finding different ways to, you know, kind of hack the brand and the culture and the society, like, you know, making daily videos when we're a clothing brand, and starting a podcast and the coffee, just finding all these different avenues to hustle the brand through.
Yeah, it's having the ability to like keep pivoting and like sampling. Does this work? Yes. And is it even working? Isn't always the right, measurement of success. It's, does this feel right? Try it. Yes. No. Pivot and like keep like progressing forward, like a little bit left, a little bit right. Just keep like moving up, your own personal, journey. And yeah, that's great advice, Ted Chuck. I'll never forget that phone call like that. He gave us a lot for being complete strangers and two young, naive guys. So yeah, that's good advice. My quote. I thought this would be appropriate for artists. Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. Oscar Wilde. I think that's a very good, interesting. You can interpret that just about any way you want, but I think it's one of the biggest pieces of advice we give is action. The other thing is be comfortable being uncomfortable, and if you can be uncomfortable more times than not, then you're really going to progress as a person. And anyone who suffers from a lack of imagination. That quote resonates with me, and
I like that. Kind of like how you said earlier, and you're talking about like, I don't know how people will view this, and you didn't really say this, but that's how I interpreted it. Like, fake it till you make it.
Right.
Like, build the image and the brand that you want to be perceived as, and live the life that you want to live.
Because who's to say what you're doing isn't cool?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Everyone has their own like mind, and if someone cool sees it and is like, oh, that's dope, like that's only better for you. Just, believe in what you do.
If you do it, I think if you do it to fulfill yourself and your own needs, everything else is extra. You know what I mean? If you make these art pieces for yourself because you enjoy it, and then people buy them, like, that's great, that's extra. But as long as it's a fulfilling process, like, I make the videos for me, like, I don't make them for other people. I don't get me wrong, when people like tell me, oh, I loved this episode, or I watched this, or they share a detail that they only know if they really watch something, that's like the most enlightening, inspiring feeling ever. Like, people are actually paying attention to what I'm doing. But at the same time, like, I do it because it's fulfilling to me, and I enjoy the process and putting something out there. So I think that's super important. It's got to be a fulfilling process, or else it's a waste of time.
And I find it super interesting too. Like, people always ask like their friends or their family or whatever for advice and be like, oh, what should I do in this situation? Or how should I text this person back? Or like, what do you think of this? And I find that super interesting because you're kind of asking for someone else's advice, which that's always good for, to get people's perspective. But ultimately, like, you're kind of having that person make the decision for you. And if something doesn't go right, or you go down that path, then you regret it. You're like, why not just listen to yourself?
Well,
I think a lot of
half the time people don't end up doing, they do what they want to do anyway, right?
I think a lot of people discredit their own
Worth.
Yeah, just like how they really feel. They're like, oh, I don't know if my friend would do this, so I don't know if I should do it. Or like what they will think of it. And it's like, deep down, that's really what you want to do, or that's the decision you want to make, or that's the life you want to live. Yeah. But for whatever reason, a lot of people just don't have the confidence in themselves to be like, oh, this is what I really want to do. And it's fine if no one else wants to do it, and I'm the only one, but this feels right to me. So,
but that's not the norm. People, I don't know. You can never expect anyone to grasp that. It's, I agree 100%.
That's something that I've become probably better at.
It's something I work towards every day, is making decisions on my own, taking action. Like, the biggest thing I'm working on improving in my own life right now is just like, I am very bad my whole life, and I think a lot of people are this way, is if something is a decision or slightly uncomfortable or difficult, or there's any form of resistance, it's like, put that off. It's like very easy, like anything. But like, I'm like trying to be very like yes or no, like get it out of my headspace. I do not, if it's anything that needs to be thought about, am I going to do this? Yes, then do it. If it can take less than 5 minutes, get it done. If not, put a time down and get it done. If I'm not going to do it, then get it out of your head and stop wasting your time and your energy thinking about it. I think that's where a big form of stress for a lot of people, myself included, accumulates from, is that limbo of, oh, I have all these things on my plate. You know how many times people say that? And I've said that. I have so much on my plate. What that really means is you haven't made very many decisions. If you just make decisions and commit or not commit and do it, or put a time down to do it, you feel like a million times lighter. I feel that way. People think that in order to be productive, I think, and I'm speaking in generalities when I say people, but I'm also talking about myself and my life experience. People speak, they say, they think that, and if they don't have a lot of things on the to-do list, then they're not productive. People think that and I'm a victim of this myself. I'm really working on getting better about this. But if your schedule is not packed with all this stuff to do, are you a productive human? You know, there's this misconception about productivity related to busyness. And I've found for myself as like a creator, like getting to the polar opposite of that is the most like enlightening thing for me. Leaving something we talk about, leaving as much time in the day of doing nothing and just serendipity. You want to go to a coffee shop? Sure. You go there, next thing you know, this happens all the time. Then we meet somebody who's there like painting or drawing or doing, and oh, what are you doing? They see our cameras. Next thing you know, we made a new friend. Oh, now they're a podcast guest. And it's just so cool, this journey of, leaving time for serendipity. And it's something that we're working on a lot. And I think if I could pass that on to other people, it's okay to not be busy. And it's really fun to not be busy.
I like that.
Thank you. I don't even know how I got there.
I don't either.
Morgan, you're just getting this out of us. You're the best interrogator.
It's the chair, the energy.
It's the
down here.
chair.
It is the thinking chair just radiating us over onto us.
Yes. So,
Questions?
questions.
And then we had Morgan reach out to our following and got some questions for us.
I
Or for
did.
yourself, but we're
For
gonna,
myself.
We're going to ask you because we're going to act like we were prepared.
Yeah.
All right. Hand those
Do you wanna
over
read
and
'em?
then we'll fire away. All right. Donovan. All right. I think this is to me. No.
Yeah,
Do you always know what you are going to create right before you start?
So like I said, with custom pieces, I have more of an idea of what I'm looking to do, but at the end of it, it's never usually how it looks. That's why I like to take like videos of my work when I'm in the process, just because it helps me see it, what it looks like. And then at the end of it, sometimes it doesn't even look the exact same. You're like, how did you get from there to there? It looks like I've did like 100 pieces. But no, I typically don't have an idea. It's very rare if I do.
And then how often is this the majority of your pieces that you repaint over them or what?
I've only repainted over like a handful of pieces, so I typically try not to. It just kind of depends.
Really? Mm-hmm. Hunter, is it true that painting naked helps creativity?
I don't know. I don't know.
Have you painted
Guess we'll have to
naked?
find out. I've painted like, I feel like somewhat naked, or probably I painted so many times I don't really keep track of
It's a
what
blur.
I'm in.
It's a blur. Got it. It's censored.
Hunter, I will answer yes.
Yeah.
But showering,
See that over there?
showering
That was done
sucks.
naked, yeah.
There's paint everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the irony of that is we have a friend who did this photo project, and it was body painting, and she would paint people with these like super like awesome colors and like paint them. They were naked, and she'd then photograph them, and it turned out like really cool. But that's what I thought of when I heard painting naked. Not the process, but the actual like physical act.
You're going to come home one day, I'm going to be baking with nothing but an apron on.
So it's just the
my
cook.
Just my butt. Like, you just see my kilo butt.
Oh my God, Christ.
Flour everywhere. Oh my gosh. All right. How has living in the Detroit area influenced your art in regards to themes or messages you try to express?
I guess it's just made me push. Like, I love Detroit because we're one of the cities where they did graffiti on the walls. Like, we weren't getting paid like Grand Rapids. They pay your artists. I mean, I'm sure they do now just because it's more of like a common thing, but it's the struggle. Someone told me struggle harder, and that quote like sticks with me because the more you struggle, the more you're going to find yourself, and like the more you push. So that's really how Detroit has influenced me.
Do you ever just kind of like cruise around Detroit, like looking for inspiration?
No, I go out to Detroit for like a good time dancing or like just like the energy. So usually after I go out there, like I like painting and stuff like that when I get home from the bars. But it's definitely a really cool place to get a different view of everything.
Where might somebody find Morgan Scheving on a Saturday? What is your go-to place to get to dance, to boogie down?
To boogie down. I'm at Marble Bar and TV a lot in Detroit.
Okay.
Don't ask me where they are because I have no idea.
I've never heard of them. But
You
we'll
can use
Google.
this thing called Google if you're interested.
So, do you paint inebriated, intoxicated after the bar?
I have. Guilty.
Is that a common process for you?
No, it's not common. Like, but sometimes it happens. I mean, it's life.
You're not like, I don't know, who's the guy that wrote Tom Sawyer? Wasn't he a drunk?
What?
Huck Finn?
Oh.
The guy that lives in...
Why do I not?
I'm gonna look at Morgan, but she doesn't know names.
I don't know names.
What, Edgar Allan Poe?
No, but that guy was a psychopath. The Telltale Heart.
Who was the guy that
Hemingway.
Yeah,
but
Ernest
he
Hemingway.
didn't
Wasn't
do
he like
he
a
didn't
terrible
do,
drunk?
He didn't write Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. But Hemingway was he was a drunk. What? How do we inebriated? Got it. Go ahead.
All right, favorite color.
So this is funny because when people ask me, I don't really have a favorite color. I feel like bad. Like I want to like all of them. So it's really hard. But like I guess for like clothes, I like olive green and burgundy.
Nice.
Do you have a favorite color to paint in?
See, no.
No?
I just like all colors.
Really? You're not like, I have to have red in every canvas. 'Cause
I
it
mean, I
looks
use
badass.
black and white usually, but in everything I do, at least it has that as like a prime or a contrast.
Yeah.
But there's not one color. It's like I go into the store and I just look at the one, like, what color do I fuck with?
Well, I'll answer it. Mine's blue if anyone's curious. So.
Where do you go to get your supplies?
I go to Blick's in Werloke, or sometimes I go to Michael's. It kind of depends on just like where I am.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is there any more questions, or is that it?
That was it.
All right, sweet. I love that audio.
That is cool.
It's
Do
very
you?
Thanks. I didn't mean to do it.
I kind of want to give you a white Skroove shirt and then just like throw it in your studio and whatever like splatters or like gets on it and then just give it back to me in like a month and like I just like
Well, we could potentially do like a collab, like an artist collab.
Yeah.
We could come out with like a run of white shirts. We'll just like Skroove on them, and then we could.
we just give them all to Morgan
Yeah.
and they're all different. Just whatever happens, happens.
Whatever
sick.
happens,
That
happens.
could
I
be
like
cool.
that. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Let's talk
I
about that.
want a Skroove 1 of 1 white shirt, the Morgan Scheving edition.
Just one little splatter of red paint on it. It's
you
a
give it
Morgan
back.
original.
It's such a disappointment. Like I'm expecting like all these splattered colors.
Just,
It's
like,
like
one
you literally
dot.
go like. Psst, like right in the center, just looks like like I spilled something on
That's
myself.
great. Oh
I
my
could have done that.
Oh my god.
You know, what'd be sweet is if we came over and watched your process and made a video of that sometime.
We
And
can.
then baked some cake.
Bake some goods. Bake some goods.
Yeah, you could.
I'll
teach
bring
us
red
how-
velvet, yeah, and then we could help fire up your baking channel, your baking
Yeah, your
vlog.
baking. Yeah.
Oh.
So, this is the platform for you to convey any message you want. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? Something you want to leave with people? Anything you want to drop?
Let's see. Everything is just an experience in your life. It's just how you react. So push yourself, struggle, and be a good one.
Be a good one.
And I kind of took
advice.
something away from you too. Like you were just like, just take action.
Yeah.
And that's something that we really preach. Just like do,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that is one of the greatest enablers is just actually doing and learning. And like you said, you're like, oh, some people have comments that I've passed like a lot of the like struggle, like starving artist kind of thing or whatever. And I think just taking action and putting yourself out there is like the greatest thing anybody can do. Because
I
you
agree.
learn so much faster and you have so many more experiences, like you just said.
Yeah, and it just makes you grow. Everyone is scared of like trying something or being looked at as dumb, but the process of doing it, that's just like growing as a human right there. So, I mean, and like the whole struggling thing, I think I had to like force myself to struggle as an artist because I never thought of myself as an artist till now. So I was like, oh, you're not an artist till you struggle and, you're broke. Well, I did that, and now I'm like, I am an artist.
Right, yeah.
But I think it was just
You
like
paid
a
your
goal
dues.
for me to like, for like life being like, Morgan, you're an artist.
Yeah.
Like, you want to struggle? Here, you're going to struggle,
Yeah.
but you've always been.
You get what you ask for a little bit.
Yeah.
The whole action thing. I don't think I've said this on the podcast. Bonus quote. I will butcher this because I haven't read in a while. But it's to the pessimist who says, "Oh, I'm not going to do anything. What's the point?" And the optimist who says, "I'm not going to do anything because it'll all work out. The result is the same. No action." So you guys can ponder that one if you want. I think it's kind of a trippy circle to think around. But at the end of the day, action will always progress you.
When did you say, all right, I'm an artist now? When did you like recognize that to yourself?
That light bulb moment.
Not till like one of my bigger customs that sold for a lot. It kind of like stuck with me, like, and then people would like reference me as an artist when they would go out with me, like, oh, she's an artist, because they would ask what I
That's
do.
cool.
I would never be the first to say
You're
it.
like, no.
I
Or
just
would
kind
you
of
just,
never
like-
thought of it, and then I like was pondering one day. I was like, wait, I did this form of art since all this stuff, and I was like, it's just funny. And like, I've always thought to be an artist, you have to struggle or have that hard life. So I think that's why I had to struggle, is just to realize to myself, to prove it, like, you're an artist.
I think that's kind of part of it. What's next for Morgan Scheving?
I'm just going to grind. My goal is to put out as much work as I can, meaning like clothes to paintings to anything artistically creative. And then whoever vibes with it, that's going to happen.
Cool.
Do you have like upcoming shows?
Yep. I have one in August 24th at the L Club. It's by Trap Art. So the theme of it is who doesn't like sex.
Okay.
Really?
Interesting.
Be there. Check it out. Will you promote that like on your Instagram? So people,
Yeah,
so
most
people
likely
can find
we'll
more
post stuff on
information
there,
on
yeah.
that. All right, so make sure you follow her at @NotYourAverageQueen_, and then you can attend one of Morgan's shows.
And people can reach out to you through like DMs. Is that how a lot of people like try and purchase your pieces?
Yep, I recommend it. I don't really, like, I have my email on my website, but DM works fine.
Okay. And then, yeah.
It's direct message for anybody who doesn't.
Follow Morgan, check her out. Then that way you can stay up to date on her shows and check out her art in person.
Check out her blog. Check her out.
Or just check me out.
Yeah, just check her out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Morgan.
Thanks.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
And I can't wait to have some of that cake.
Yeah,
that she
I
brought
know.
in
Now
Bruce.
she's
I hope it's
red
red velvet.
Okay, I would love red velvet. All right, guys. We will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. All episodes of What's Your Skroove are available on iTunes. And if you like the show, be sure to rate, subscribe, and leave a comment. As always, there are free stickers on our website, www.skroovco.com. We'll see you guys next time.